Hey guys, what's up? This is Shot Science Overtime number 75. I'm Casey. This is Coach Tom. We are Shot Science Basketball. So what usually happens today is that you guys are the early people or you're watching the recording. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss a topic real quick. The one that we have here on the heading for the video. Then we're going to get right into taking your questions. So if you want your question answered, make sure that you send them to us right now. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. That's the best place. You can also send them to us at Facebook, Google Plus, or even in the chat of this video, or in the Q&A app from Google Plus. So make sure you send those to us, and we will do our best to get to everybody that we can today. The people that send them in early are typically the ones that get them answered, because at the end it becomes just a major, fire drill, and we're trying to get everything out as fast as we can. So make sure you send them to us early. Okay? And another thing, too, if you go out and tell your friends to watch, that only helps us be able to do more cool things for you guys, get more cool guests. But we would love it if you would do that for us. Okay, so today's topic is the top 3 things or keys to your dribble attacks. And so we're going to tell you some things that we think will help you guys when you're trying to attack the basket. There's a few things that people don't do that will really take your game to the next level on that stuff. So what are some things that people can do?
Well, there's several things that we're going to mention today, and one of the first ones we're going to mention is just the fact that you need to have a good pre-dribble setup. And that pre-dribble setup means that you are very effective in using one of these 3 types of setups. Number 1 would be a jab step. I see people use the jab step all the time, but they don't really use it very effectively because they overstep it, they don't swing the ball. There's a number of things that they don't do very well, but that is one important pre-dribble setup. The second one that I would mention is that you want to make sure that you use a good shot fake. I was watching one of the college games earlier this year, and Coach Bobby Knight, who is probably one of the most well-known basketball people in country, in history of basketball, over 900 wins, I think it is, and he made the comment that he thought that one of the most important, underused, undertaught elements of basketball was the shot fake. And, I totally believe that as well. One of the things that people do is in this particular setup is they drop the ball down low and they bring the ball really high, and by the time you recover to your go position, the defense has recovered with you. Whereas if it's a real short little pop, it's up high, and what we like to do is teach our students that they go from the chin to the forehead on that so that it's very quick, and there's not any flexion of the legs. This is just the ball movement right here, maybe a little bit ahead, and your eyes go to the basket.
Yeah, and the keys for all of these, too, are that you're trying to get that defender off balance before you really even make a move.
Right.
And you're also doing a little bit of testing to see what the reaction is going to be. So you need to sell this stuff. It's not just going through the motions.
Yeah, very true. And then the other one that we particularly like, just because of shifting defenses and whatnot, is the rip and go. We like to catch that ball and rip it underneath the knees and just go right away, a lead step and take off. And oftentimes what happens is the defender gets left behind and they're working really hard to try and catch up. So those are 3 things that we teach as pre-dribble setups. The other things that we think are real important, and I'm just going to run through this list here real quick, and then we'll say some general things about them. We teach these kinds of setups. We teach the crossover. We teach, and the thing that's really important there are angles, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment.
Okay, before we even get into that stuff, let's just say that if you guys want to have help with your dribble attacks, we have, I think, what is it, like 7 of them that you can go check out. We have a playlist full of them on dribble attacks, and I'll try to put that down in the description of this video, but there's seriously 7 dribble attacks that you can use that we go through and we break down each and every single little aspect of it.
Right.
So after this video, make sure you go and check out our dribble attacks videos, because there's a long list of that stuff.
With that particular information, I won't bother listening to all of those, but here are some things that are really critical anytime you're attacking a person to the basket. Number 1, a good pre-dribble move, whatever that happens to be. One of the things we mentioned. The next thing is that when you go, you want to have a really good angle. One of the things that happens, and let me back up, we talk in terms of angles when we attack in these contexts. We talk in context of north and south, which is basket to basket. We talk about east and west, which is sideline to sideline. And the worst angle that you can take is one that is more sideline to sideline or east-west, because what happens is that angle is so flat that it allows the defender to possibly catch up with you.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. You're trying to take and go from point A to point B, but then you're adding in a C point into it. And so you're looping out and around. And if you're trying to beat somebody, whether it's in a foot race or even just off the dribble or whatever, you want to take the shortest route possible.
Exactly.
And if you're taking the long route, the scenic route, you're never going to get there. So you need to make sure that when you're taking those steps, they're very deliberate. You're using the angles that are going to get you the shortest distance there.
Okay, well, let me just kind of, let me just define this a little bit. We don't actually teach people necessarily to go north and south directly. Maybe you get by somebody and then north and south exactly becomes into play. But we like to take it in terms of like 45-degree angles. That's the attack angle that we want to take when we're trying to go by somebody. And what happens is that, and we also want to go hip to hip with the defender. In other words, we want to be right up against them and sealing them when we go. If we take and take that flat angle like the east-west angle, then we don't really get a good seal. We want to force them, if we can, to do one of two things. Number one, that when we take that angle, we want them to bump us. And we need to be ready for that bump and, in fact, possibly deliver it instead of them delivering it. But sometimes what defenders will do is they'll attempt to get in front of you to take the charge. If you go at that nice tight hip-to-hip angle, it's almost impossible to do, and they usually are a little late as well. And so what happens is they either foul you or they have to open up their stance, which is just like the gate swinging open. So the angles are really important when we attack the basket, and so hip-to-hip is really good. In most cases, hip-to-hip is going to be about a 45-degree angle to the basket.
And when you do that, too, you seal them off to your hip, and they're a step behind you at least.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you want to make sure that you're keeping the north-south, you got them on your hip, maybe they're opening up or whatever, but you don't want to slow up and let them catch up with you. That's just as bad as looping out and around. You've got them beat, so don't give them that step back. You want to make sure that you have you extend that as far as you can, and you keep going and keep them on your hip.
Okay, another item that is really important if we're going to go hip to hip and we're attacking the basket. We would do this even if we're going to take and potentially get a shot. Maybe we don't know when we start whether we're going to get a shot or we're going to take and go all the way to the basket. But we like the use of the long one-on-one attack. And on this one, what we want to do is we want to take a long attack with that first step. And we want to take, and the second part of this, the one-on-one, is that we want to reach out and get a long dribble that is out in front of us that is just a little bit taller than normal. It allows us a little split second to get there for it. But what happens is that really puts the defense at a disadvantage. And the disadvantage for them is that they don't know you're going to go. And number one, if they're trying to dig the ball out, when you do go, the ball is going to be past them, and they're not going to be able to be very effective. Take a look at that video, because that's one that we think is really effective.
Right. I mean, all of these, and we'll go back to that one again. Same thing. You beat them with that step. Don't give them back the step.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you got the angle, and you're not giving up the step, and you're keeping them on your hip so you know where they are, and then you also want to extend that out so you're beating them with distance as well. So you want to make sure that every time you are attacking the hoop, you are doing it very deliberately, and you have kind of put them at the disadvantage instead of just trying to let them rule the show. You are in control, so you want to make sure that you are the one that is using those little tips to make sure that you seal them and you're a step ahead.
Okay, we got one more thing that we want to lay out there that I feel is probably the most important thing when you're going to attack somebody going to the basket, and that is you have to make them defend. And by what I mean by that is that if we go at somebody in a cream puff manner where we're just not really being very aggressive, they'll be able to stay in front of us, no difficulty. But if we really attack them hard, and they then are faced with either letting us go or are defending hard, what's going to happen? They don't know when we're going to change direction or pull up and shoot. And so typically when they're defending really hard, they tend to overrun what it is that you're going to do. And that overrun, in fact, one of the classic ones was in the Olympics last year, and the young fellow from Nigeria made a hard dribble from the left side of the court across the key, and James Harden was guarding him, and the guy made a little quick, what we call a crack step back, and in that crack step back, James Harden ended up in a heap about 6 or 7 feet away, and there was just nobody there to defend. I've seen it before, but that's the one that sticks in my mind. So a key point also is if you're going to take and attack them hard, so they have to defend hard. If they don't go hard, go to the rack.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the whole thing. If you're sitting back and letting things kind of happen as they may, then you are not in control. Essentially, they are in control. But if you are the one that is pushing the issue, you're the one that's making the decisions on what to do, where to go, and all that stuff, you just made their job much harder. And they're more apt to fall behind, so they lose that step, you gain that step, or just mess up and not be in the right positioning to stop you from whatever you're trying to do. So make sure you are the one in the driver's seat and you're the one pushing the issue.
Okay, one more comment I think is really, really worth throwing out here too, is that oftentimes, particularly with younger players, they don't like to make contact when they drive. And the essence of defense is to try and get into you and keep their body in front of you, and so there's usually a lot of jostling or bumping as you go. And my instructions to my students is be the bumper, not the bumpy. You don't want them to be the bumper. You want to bump them as you go. Now, that doesn't mean you go seeking them, but if somebody steps in front of you trying to take a charge or something like that, do not be afraid to just power right on by them, and if you catch them, oh well. If you get a foul once in a while, oh well. But the thing is that basketball is a pretty aggressive basketball game in the present. Nothing like it was when I was a young guy, when you didn't breathe on the people unless you got or you got a foul on you. It's just a different time.
And the thing is too is that if there's that contact and you're lower and you're initiating it, you're going to knock them off balance.
Yeah.
And if they're doing that to you, then you're going to be off balance, and they're going to kind of essentially drive you to wherever they want you to go.
And most of that contact though comes too with the defensive player out of position, which is an automatic whistle on them. And so that's something that you should really consider.
Yeah, and so you have a list here that maybe we should talk about a little bit too. But
okay.
On some of these different moves, a lot of what's really important are the angles on things.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about like the crossover. And when I think of stuff like the crossover, I think of you having to sell the move. Every time you do it, you need to sell like you're going one direction, and then stop on the dime, plant push, and go in the other direction. And you have to sell that you're going to still keep going in that direction. And that's what, when people break their ankles or whatever, I mean, that's because the defense is not prepared for you to make that change in direction. And their body keeps going even though they tell their feet to stop. And so you need to be able to sell every one of these moves.
Well, I'm sorry, Casey.
No, go ahead.
There's another thing that's really important when you're selling that move too, and that is making sure you get that good angle. We talked about that a while ago. If you don't get that good north-south angle, which is about a 45-degree angle, you cannot seal them off effectively. So that's real important as well.
And then the other thing that I will say is this. You want to make sure that when you're putting together your dribbling abilities, or the dribble attacks that you think that you want to use, that you only choose maybe 2 or 3 of them max, and then build a combination, or not a combination, but I just blanked on the word.
I'm not sure where you're going with it.
Build moves off of those, so that when you are trying to do like a crossover dribble, you also have like the in and out dribble, a counter. That's it.
A counter move, yeah.
No, what happened to my brain right there? But you want to make sure that you have like maybe 2 solid dribble attacks and then a counter off of those. So like the crossover dribble, a good counter would be the in and out dribble. And essentially what you're trying to do there is make it look like the crossover, but you don't go in the same direction as that. So it's a counter move. Maybe you burn the guy a couple times with the crossover. He's looking for that, waiting for it. You throw in the in and out, and he's iced because he was expecting you to do the crossover dribble. And the same thing is true with any kind of hesitation, like the hesitation dribble. That looks like almost every single one of these dribble attacks. So that's a great one to have in your bag as well.
Well, one of the things about the scissor dribble, or dribbling between your legs, we don't get good angles coming out of that drill. That doesn't mean we can't. That doesn't mean that we cannot beat people with it, but we're just not going to be as effective, because when we go to take the ball and go from one side of our body to the other through our leg is in the way, and so we can't get so much in that north-south angle, and so we tend to go east and west a little bit more. But sometimes it's effective just because you are able to get somebody really sold, you're going this direction, and then you make that counter move. The other thing is real important is take a look at our dribble attacks on the flatback attack. It's one that we really like a lot, and one that I would tell you this is that if it is properly executed one-on-one, it's indefensible. Properly executed.
Which one is that?
That's the flatback attack. And the reason the flatback attack is so difficult is that there's no way they can really get their hands on it, because it goes behind your butt and it really looks just like a cross dribble. It hits in the middle and comes up quick, and it's just almost impossible one-on-one to stop it. The other one we like is the spin move, and if that is properly executed one-on-one, that one likewise is really nearly impossible to stop. The thing that really kind of creates problems for that is you momentarily have your back to some of the defenders, and maybe a help side defender can step in on you. But very, very effective, those two.
Yeah, so make sure that you guys check out the Dribble Attacks playlist. There is, I think, 7 dribble attacks in there. I will try, after this is over, I will try to put that link down in the description of the video, maybe even throw up an annotation, so make sure you check out for that. And if you guys go in there, we break down each and every single one of those moves. Pick 1 or 2, work on that, get it down, and then figure out a counter move for that. Yeah. So like I said, an example would be the crossover and the in and out dribble. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap that up. That might have been more than 3 top keys, but you know, that's all good. Hopefully we're able to help you guys out a little bit in how to kind of attack the basket a little bit more. We have videos, I think, on all of that stuff, so make sure you check all that out. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump right into the question and answer stuff. So if you guys have questions, make sure you send them to us right now, because if you wait around, you probably will not get your question answered if you wait till the end. We're going to try to get through as many people as we possibly can. Send them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science there. That's the best place to get us. You can ask in the chat of this video. You can ask on Facebook, Google+, or in the Q&A app here in this Google+ Hangout. So just make sure you send us your questions. We would love to answer them. Go out, tell your friends, family, whoever's into basketball to check out the live shows, because that only helps us get more cool guests and you know, be able to do more cool things for you guys. All right, so let's go right into questions. We're gonna do one from Christopher Abad here in the Q&A app, who asked, "How can I improve my dribbling?"
Well, you know, there's
practice.
Yeah, there's a simple response to that often post when people ask that question. And that is practice, and then practice some more. That is the key to getting better with it. And the thing that we would include in that too is that make sure that you're aggressive on your dribbling. One of the things that I find is the biggest problem with most younger players is that they tend to not really power the ball into the floor. We tell our players, pound it. We want you to really put that ball into the floor hard. It comes back to the hand hard. It's easier for you to handle when it's coming up kind of stiff. Now, some people, in fact, most people who don't have very much training in ball handling, they tend to do what we call petting the dog. And petting the dog means that they are really just kind of being very soft, nice doggy, rather than pounding that thing into the floor. And the other thing that's really important is that spend time on your weak hand ball skills. One of the things that is probably the biggest failing with most young players is this. They only feel good about something that they can do with their right hand because they feel confident there. Their left hand and it could be the other way around too, but they do not have confidence, and so they never spend any time on that one. And that is so key, because one of the things that will happen is that you're going to reach some point in your basketball career, and if you don't have an offhand that's pretty good, what's going to happen? Other coaches recognize that immediately, and they are going to have their defensive player forcing you to play with your weak hand the whole game. And so you have to be able to dribble and control the basketball aggressively with your weak hand.
Yeah, so I mean, the real key here is that you have to put in the time and the work and the effort to make it happen.
Yeah.
And you know, we have a ton of videos on our channel on not only how to dribble, but also the dribble drills that will really help you. So make sure you check out how to develop your weak hand, Dribbling 101, dribble attacks. I mean, all those things are great for trying to improve your dribbling.
Right.
Okay, so the next one is from Matthias Basket, who says, how do I speed up my dribble?
I'm not really sure what is meant there by that. I noticed that a moment ago and thought to myself, I don't know that you want to necessarily speed up your dribble. One of the things that if we're in a sprint, then we want to push the ball out in front of us a little bit more. But the thing that probably is more important than making it more speedy or faster is to pound the ball so it's responsive to you and to your hand. And so I don't know you necessarily have to speed it up unless you're in a sprint. And then you push the ball out in front of you. You got fewer dribbles as you cover a longer space.
Yeah, I think that the key here is speeding up your dribble is really just pounding the ball.
Yep.
And that will make the ball come back to your hand quicker. And also the other thing that you really need to work on too is just having good control of the ball. So you want to keep it on your finger pads, not on your palm, and you really want to kind of get the feel for catching the ball with your hand when you pound it into the ground.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that people really have a hard time with, is that they're pounding the ball, but then the ball's like clapping back up into their hand. You really want to finesse it. Once you pound it into the ground, you kind of have to give a little give with it as it comes back up to your hand. So you need to kind of work on that. It's not easy to do initially, but if you do it a few times, you'll start to really get it, and that will give you the control. If you're talking about ball handling kind of quickness and stuff, same thing is true. It's all in the touch of the fingertips and getting control of the basketballs, and that takes experience. So just keep at it. Okay, so let's go to Twitter real quick. This one is from The Real King K, who is at The Real King K21 on Twitter, who says, do you know any way I can improve my three-point shot? I can shoot well from mid and close, but not from three. Greetings from Germany.
Okay, well, here's the concern that most people don't think about. The fact that we kind of look at shooting and the power for shooting as being kind of spaced like this. Probably 15 or 20% of the power that we generate for shooting comes from our shoulder girdle and arms and whatnot. Everything else comes from the other 75 or 80% comes from our core muscles, which it's a large group of muscles in our midsection, our gluteus or butt muscles, and then our quads and hamstrings, as well as the calf muscles. And those are all really big muscles. And one of the things that we don't really do is we don't necessarily use them effectively. And sometimes what will happen is that we can shoot pretty good just because of the upper arm and shoulder strength up to about 15 or 16 feet, and then we start to move back a little bit, and then we don't have that leg power, so it's connected to our shot, and so we tend to fall. The shots typically are short and flat, and so what you need to do is kind of look into getting the legs into the shot. In fact, we have a video on that would really be worth looking into, and that should help you a lot for those longer shots. Here's the other thing, is that you want to start working on your shots from a shorter distance, let's say 10 feet or 8 feet, and then move back to maybe 12 feet, then move back to 16 feet. And I would be willing to bet you that probably most young players do not even know what the distance is to the three-point line in high school. And just so that you know what it is, it's 19 feet 9 inches. And so you're able to probably get more effective at that if you learn how to get the legs into it, and we have a video of that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the basic thing with any kind of extension of your shot, is that you want to make sure that you are doing it progressively and segmentally. You're not just going from here's my close range shots, here's my long range shots. Yeah. You want to use something like the form shooting drill and work in close, get your mechanics all dialed in, take a step back after you master that closer shooting area, take another step back after you master the next, and you just keep working yourself back, because you're able to keep your mechanics kind of in line when you do that. If you just go from close and then step all the way back to 20 feet, then suddenly your mechanics are going to degrade because you haven't built up the strength, the muscle memory, and the mechanics.
The leg connection is really key there. You haven't got that, you're not going to be able to shoot those three very well.
Yeah, so check out our videos on all that stuff. We have, make the three-pointer, get your legs into it. We have, the form shooting drill. There's a ton of stuff to check out on that, but the key is really just working back progressively. Don't rush it. Like, you really want to get the mechanics and everything set up first. Okay, so let's go back here into the comments. Let's see.
Can you see that very first one there?
Right here?
No, at the bottom, at the other end of the page, the top.
Where?
Vasco Santos, he wants to know, where can he ask?
Vasco Santos is asking, where can I ask, please? You found the right place. If you just put your question in there in the comments, we will get to it. Okay, here's one from Johnny Justice, who says, I'm 5'4", 110 pounds, and an incoming ninth grader, class of 2018. I see, I guess, many videos where incoming ninth graders are 5'11 plus and way faster. Are there any drills for speed and agility and quickness? Okay, this is one of the things that really bothers me all the time, and I'm sure it bothers you, is that people focus so much on their weight and size and all this stuff. You don't need to do that. Those are things that you really don't have too much control over, especially your height. And if you focus so much on, oh, I'm shorter, I'm the short guy, blah, 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 then you will get a complex about that kind of stuff. If you think about it like this, you're 5'4", you're probably already pretty quick, you're probably pretty fast, you're probably a little bit smaller, more compact, more agile, so focus on that. Whereas these bigger guys, they want those attributes. They want to be faster, quicker, more agile. So you can use that against them. The other thing is that when you're going up against bigger guys, they think that they're going to just destroy you because they're bigger, they're taller, they should be able to block every one of your shots. Use that psychologically against them. Go in there, give them a shot fake. Those guys are going to jump over you to try to block your shot. You've got them out of position. You can go up, get a body on them, get an and one, or get them, or just blow by them because you've got them in the air. So use just those psychological things against them. Being smaller does not limit you. It really does not. That's why people like Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb and Isaiah Thomas and all these little short guys are able to even go all the way to the top of the NBA ranks just because they don't worry about being the short guy.
Right.
Okay, so now jumping into how to.
Hang on a second. Let me jump in there real quick.
Okay.
One of the things that you have to remember when you're a freshman, incoming freshman, you're probably 13 or 14 years old. What's going to happen is that you still have more growth typically, and you probably grow to your 16 or maybe even 17. Some people are a little later on their growth, and you may end up being a lot bigger than you really think you're going to be. Sometimes you take a look at your other family members, and sometimes that will give you keys and where what you might end up being. I had this discussion with a parent the other day, and they were concerned about their son was awfully short, but the mother was like 5'10" or 5'11", and her mother was about 5'10" or 5'11". And one of the things that I've seen over the years is that families tend to kind of lean toward the family side of
lean towards a what?
They lean toward their mother's side of the family when it comes to growth. My mother was about 5'7" or 5'8". My dad was about 5'10". And my sister and my brother and I were all over 6 feet. Well, my sister's not. She's about 5'10".
Well, I mean, the thing is that, number one, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Number two, you still do have some years of growth going on.
Yep.
Okay, and the other part here is you're asking if there's any drills for speed, agility, and quickness. There are tons. What I will say is that our vertical jump videos will help you greatly in that area, just in overall athleticism. We have our vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook, which you can check out. I think you can just type in vertical jump training, and ours is one of the first that comes up. Also, doing things like ladder drills, jump rope, dot drills. Those are all great things. Also, go over and check out our buddy Alan Stein's videos. Alan has a ton of agility, footwork, speed, quickness stuff on his YouTube channel. So go check out all those vertical jump videos, Alan Stein, and all of the jump rope. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. So just get to work on that stuff, kind of put a program together, and you'll be good. Okay, so this one is from Narud BZ1, who asked, how should you guard faster, shorter players? Okay, for me, I think that the best case scenario here is you give them a little bit of space because you're going to be able to close the distance a little bit better on them because they are a little bit shorter, but you also want to give them a buffer so that they can't just go right by you. So you give them that space, and then you also try to beat them to the spot so that if they have the ball, you are beating them there to where they're trying to go. So you shut down their lanes to the basket. In those situations, you typically will either shut off their attack or you can take a charge. The other thing I will say is before they even get the ball, don't let them get the ball. Be all over them. Don't let them even have a passing lane to get it, and then you've already shut them down. So
right, I think those are really good. One of the things that Casey was kind of alluding to that made this come to mind for me, and that is, in one of our videos, we talk about how important it is in defense is that you keep the person between your legs. Between your shoulders. In other words, you keep them right in the middle of your body. As soon as they get a little leverage to one side, then they have an advantage. But if you move your feet to stay in front and keep those feet square, one of the things that used to be
footwork is huge in defense.
It really is the thing. And years ago when I was a younger guy, we used to play defense every day without your arms or your hands. You had to put them behind your back and grab your shorts, and you couldn't take your hands out of there until the dribbler picked up the ball. And then the hands could come out. Otherwise, you had to play with your feet. And it's surprisingly how well you learn to use your feet when you haven't got the hands, because oftentimes we're reaching and we're off balance. And so those things I think are really important to help you be a better defender against both faster or slower defenders.
Right. Okay. Next question is from Alex James, who is at AlexJGJ on Twitter, and we see him every week. He says, when it's a tight game, I start to shoot strange and miss all my shots. Is there a way to correct that in training sessions?
Well,
I think this is a situation where it comes down to working on your shooting while you're working on your conditioning.
Yep.
So when you're going through your shooting and stuff, are you playing at game speed, game intensity? Are you super gassed and still trying to shoot? I mean, those are the actual game situations that you'll find yourself in. If you are just shooting around casually, kind of, going through the motions and stuff like that, and then you step into a game and it's fourth quarter and you've been playing, 30 minutes and, you're gassed and you're trying to make shots, good luck with that, because you haven't practiced that, so you haven't been in that situation. So I think it's really one of those things where you need to really integrate game speed, game intensity, shooting workouts, so that you can kind of get yourself into that zone before you step out on the court and have to perform.
Yeah, the game speed part of that is just so key. When we met with Alan Stein a few weeks ago, one of the things that we were discussing kind of offhand is the fact that people don't spend enough time working on game speed shooting. And he's a really big proponent of that. And so, when I work with more experienced players, I don't spend so much time with younger ones because we're working on fundamentals. But once we get to the point where they've got some fundamentals, then we start getting into game speed. And I want them to really be panting after about 2 minutes. Because they're having to go so hard. And that's how the game of basketball is played. It's played at high speed. You've got a defender in front of you. You're gassed, fatigued, and all of those things really have a negative effect on your production when it really counts. And so if you have prepared for that beforehand, then you're probably going to be much more successful.
Right. Okay, here's one from the real King K again, who asks, I'm a power forward and I need some tips on post moves.
Oh, well, the best thing that we can tell you is go to our videos, and we've got a number of them there that we think are pretty good. And so,
check out our post moves playlist.
Yes, I think that's really cool.
Some important things to check out would be like.
Well, one of the key points, I think, and not enough is said about it, and not enough people really teach it, is the release step. One of the things, you go to our playlist and you're going to see the release step being used. And what the release step is, where the ball is thrown to you or your hand or whatever, then you take that little hop step over to it, and that creates immediate space from your defender.
Yeah, you're not just sitting back and waiting for it.
Yeah, and them just all over your body, and it's really hard sometimes to move because they're bumping you and that sort of thing. But you take that little release step, and now you create immediate space. And the thing that they do, because it's the natural part of the game, and people are coached this way, is they'll close that space right now. And when they are closing the space, they are really vulnerable for you to attack them off the dribble. And so we like the spin dribble. We like the jump hook over the top. We like the
Up and under.
the up and under, the sky hook. All of those kinds of things can be very effective. One of the things that people don't really spend too much time on either is that spin move from up the lane. If we take and go up to the second or third peg on the lane, and you have somebody hugging you and they're right behind you, you can turn and go to the basket, and they don't have sufficient time to react to your move. And so those things I think are really important as post play.
I mean, go check out that playlist. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Like we were saying, the release step stuff, I think that might be in the first post moves video.
Yeah, I think so.
Then check out stuff like the flashing in the post.
Yep.
What is the other one? Footwork in the post, I think, or sealing in the post is the other one.
Post, yeah.
And then we have a bunch of post moves in there. Those are like the best things to really check out are those. Okay, so next one. This is a little bit longer one, so hold on just a second. This is from Craig McHugh, who says, "Hi coaches, the high school team my assistant coach is starting summer workouts tomorrow. Any crucial things that come to mind that should be addressed in off-season workouts? Casey, do you have any must-do exercises in the weight room for strength and power?" All right, I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, crucial things that need to be dealt with, and I'm thinking this is probably maybe a junior varsity or maybe it's a varsity coach. Doesn't make any difference. But the most important thing in that preseason workouts are to work hard on fundamental skills. You know, that's probably the biggest problem that coaches have, because once they get into the season, they don't have enough time, and it's still too late for you to start working on developing their right hand, their left hand, their different moves, their rebounding, their blocking out. All of those elements that are that you have a little more time for in the summertime, you want to spend that time on those things. Because once you get into the season, you're working on how you're going to develop your offense, how you're going to develop your defense, inbound plays, how do I face a press. And so there's not very much time for you to work on some of those important skills, shooting, blocking out, left hand or weak hand
development.
Ball skills. All of those things I think are really important in summer programs. And I've been around to some of the summer programs this summer, as I usually do. And what I'm finding is that you know, the kids, they're just playing. I think that's fine too, but I think it's a great time for you to really work on some skill development.
Yeah, and I think skill development, probably the biggest key there. The other thing too that I think will really help any team is working with your players and stuff and teaching them how to move without the ball.
Yeah, big.
Because if you teach them how to do that kind of stuff, they can go out there and they can freelance and improvise, and you guys will be okay. A lot of times people think that they need to be running on these rails and then going through the plays and all that stuff, but if you teach your players how to move without the ball, so they're doing things like L cuts, V cuts, backdoor cuts, they're setting screens, they're setting slip screens, they know how to get open, they know how to set up their teammates. You know, everything is making it tough on the defense. If you do that and you teach them how to do that, you will be in a much better space than when you get to October and people are standing there at like stop signs and they don't know where to go or where to move. So if you teach them kind of how to move without the ball, that can be a big deal.
Yep.
Okay. And then he says, do you have any must-do exercises in the weight room for strength and power? Personally, I don't think most kids in high school need to be working out in the weight room really that much at all. I mean, because I don't think it really makes that big of a payoff as compared to working on your skills and developing that. What will be helpful is working on developing your athleticism or their athleticism. So you're doing functional movements, things like you know, all the stuff that you'll find in the vertical jump handbook that we put together.
Right.
Those are things that help you develop your quickness, your speed, your vertical, your lateral movements, all these things that are really important in actually applying to basketball. Sure, you can go in there, you can do some curls, you can do a ton of squats, you can do all that stuff. I don't think that necessarily is beneficial to most people that are just trying to play basketball. Your skills are going to take you further than your bulk or your strength. That said, I'll say things like just walking lunges are really good, and we have those in the vertical jump handbook. Even just static squats where you don't even have any weight, just working on that movement itself is great. Push-ups, pull-ups, any kind of vertical training stuff, box drills, those are really great. But I think just working on your general athleticism is really more important than going in and doing some gnarly weight training.
Yeah. One of the things you'll find if you look at our vertical jump program is that everything that we do there is loaded with your body weight. It's not that we're really using free weights or anything like that. It's your body weight that you're using for resistance, and that works out really pretty good.
Yeah. And the other thing is too is that a lot of kids, they don't have trainers and stuff that know exactly what they should be doing. That's where you get into trouble too with injury and things like that. So I think it's better just stay away from most of that stuff. If they get a little bit older, 18, 19, 20, then that's fine. But I think in high school it behooves you better to stick with developing skills and athleticism.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. This one is from Mick Lemis in the Q&A, who says, "Hey, Shot Science, I'll be coaching an under 14 team next season. Do you have any tips for beginning coach/trainer?" For beginning coach/trainer.
I would think that if it's an under 14 team, it probably is a travel team. And one of the things you face there is you get you don't have very much time to practice typically. In my experience, maybe you practice twice a week, and it's hard to get everybody together. So that's a tough one.
I think the key here is to make it fun. Work on things like we said before. Moving without the ball is a huge one because you'll teach them how to play without having a set play. Work on skill development stuff, so make sure that you have like comprehensive approach to that. And yeah, I mean that's tough. I mean, experience will kind of teach you what needs to be done, I think. Right?
Yeah. One of the things that I will tell you though, on tips regarding being a coach, make sure that you make room for every kid that's going to be there because they're all going to be a little different. One of the things that coaches oftentimes fall into when it comes to coaching or disciplining and that kind of stuff is they throw everybody in the same bag. And there's going to be players that you're going to come across that don't respond very well to what you might do with Joe over here and Bill over there. And so you kind of learn to deal with the different personalities. I think that's real important too. And the other thing is, over the years, I've seen hundreds, maybe thousands of coaches, and they kind of are in different groups. There are a group that are the screamers. They're yelling and screaming the whole game. Usually, if you were like myself, when I played, I didn't hear much of anything that was going on outside of that court. I might hear the coach yell at me or something like that, but I never heard anything more. And so it's important that you kind of keep that in mind as well. And the fact that there's another kind of coaches, and they take and they make constructive criticism as they go along, and sometimes they make it a little harsh, which maybe is not the best thing to do. You're trying to get as much productivity as you can, and if you take and turn somebody off because you're chewing on them all the time, that's going to turn off. But find some spot there between being kind of a nice guy and being kind of a tougher guy, and it's not always so easy to do. But if you've got your kids who are kind of liking you and who you are, and you treat them decently, you'd be surprised how much better they're going to perform for themselves and for you.
Yep. All right. This one is from Lawrence Kitchen, who says, "I'm 6'6" and still growing, but my weight is 330 and I can grab the rim, but when I get the ball, I can't get as high." Okay. If you are 6'6", 330, you are a monster. I don't know if you're asking whether you're trying to jump higher or what, but I would say that if you're trying to get a little bit more height on your vertical, you probably need to drop your weight a little bit. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, I'm 6'2", 240, and I'm pretty big. So I mean, you being almost 100 pounds more and only 4 inches taller, that's gnarly. Shaquille O'Neal was like 330, and he was 7'2". So I would say try to drop your weight a little bit. Work on leaning out. And that usually comes down to like your diet. So you want to do a lot of lean proteins, complex carbs, cut out all the sugars and stuff. and really just work on developing your athleticism. Our vertical jump handbook is really the way to go on that.
Well, that'll really help you drop some weight, I think, if you got into that seriously, to say nothing of the fact it probably would improve your vertical as well.
Yeah, I mean, we normally would not tell people to work on cutting their weight down or anything like that, but 330, that is huge. I'm scared.
Yeah.
You're a giant man. Okay, this one is from the Lord Nebiros in the chat, who says, how do I get better at stealing and intercepting the ball? I think a lot of that comes down to experience, because you have to learn kind of to anticipate what's going to happen. But kind of finding yourself in the passing lane will really help, and anticipating the pass. Generally, people like to think that they steal the ball from the dribbler and all that a lot of the time. That actually does not happen nearly as much as you would think.
Yeah.
Most steals come down to intercepting passes.
Yep.
So I would focus more on kind of getting that down. You can pick up cues from the guys, like watching their eyes. What does it look like they're trying to do, or whatever. But that's typically where you pick up steals is passes, not from the dribbler, right?
Well, and you can oftentimes encourage somebody to throw a pass. Well, it looks like you're fading, and then all of a sudden you came back across the passing lane and take the ball. That's anticipation.
Okay, this one is from Just Ice in the comments, who says, how would I develop strength to be a stronger post player / better at driving the ball into the paint? Well, I don't think it's not necessarily so much about developing strength so much as it is learning about accepting contact, using things like jump stop, shot fake, and then go up, because you're able to get that guy off balance, up in the air, and create some contact for yourself. Let's see. Stronger post player. See, a lot of these things are about footwork too. Like when you're a post player, if you're able to use your feet to seal the guy, if you're able to use it and then you have quick feet, that will really help. And using your body to shield the ball is really an important one too, both on dribbling and when you go up for the shot. Because if you're able to use your body in between the defender and the ball, then they have to reach across or through or over to try to even make a play on it. So a lot of times that will get a reaching foul or a hacking foul or whatever, just because you put your body in between what they're trying to go after.
One of the things that happens to us as we grow a little bit older, I'm expecting that you're probably a younger guy, maybe I don't know how old, but you are going to get stronger naturally as you start to get a little older. You get to be 17, 18 years old, and it's amazing how much strength your body develops at that time. But I think to be a strong post player, what is way more important are the things that Casey's talking about there. You want to have some great footwork. You don't want to be intimidated by those bigger, stronger guys. What you want to do is to learn how to use your quickness, your feet to beat them. And we had a guy a couple of years ago who had a great spin move to the baseline, and he just beat that one to death, and scored one of the championship games we were playing in. He had to play. He was 6'2", and he was playing against a guy who was 6'8". He put 26 on the guy, and most of it was just that quick spin under the basket because he is quicker, and he had great footwork to get to the delivery of the ball.
Okay, we are in the lightning round now, so make sure.
Oh, gosh, that's gone so fast. I can't believe it.
No anecdotes anymore.
All right.
So we're going to do the lightning round. That means that we're going to answer as many questions as we can before we have to leave. They might not be complete questions. If you have questions, send them to us right now. Go tell your friends to watch. That all helps us. Okay, so here we go. This is from Lumumba Batale, who asked, how do I go off 2 feet for a layup or a dunk? It's the same footwork as going up for a shot. You're going to go 1-2, or you're going to jump stop into it. I mean, that's really the basics of it. So
exactly.
You need to be able to do both of those. Let's see. This is from Killer in the chat, who says, I'm a beginner. Can I learn basketball just by watching and following your videos? Technically, no. You have to watch and follow the videos, but then you have to go out and apply it. So you're going to do the 3 pillars of practice. Diligent practice, where you're dialing in all your mechanics. Second pillar is game speed, game intensity practice. And third is getting game experience, applying all those things that you did in the first 2 pillars. So, I mean, that's really what you have to kind of do.
Right.
Watch our videos to know what to do, then go out there and do it.
All right.
Okay. This is from Own 3Z's3, who says, how can I improve my shot if I keep missing in the same position?
You take and look at your skills.
Lightning round.
Yeah, I know. Take a look at your skills and even take a video of them and see if you're doing correctly, and then spend a ton of time working on it. I mean, oftentimes people have really crappy shooting mechanics, and they can still shoot pretty good. But I think that's the best thing. Get the good mechanics working for you, and then spend a ton of time working on it. Repeat.
Okay, we actually answered that one, so never mind. Let's see. This one is from Lawrence Kitchen. What type of diet should I do, and should I go do football conditioning? You're not playing football, well, unless you're playing football. I think you're the giant guy. You need to go and check out our vertical jump handbook, and that is really kind of what our suggestion would be in terms of applying basketball athleticism to your actual playing. In terms of diet, lean proteins, complex carbs, cut the sugars out, lots of water. That's the short answer. Okay, this one is from Vito Music, who says, I'm a 6'3" center. My weight is around 180 pounds, 17 years old. I can grab the ring, but I can't high enough with the ball. Do you got tips or exercises for me? Love the stream, by the way. We do. Check out our vertical jump videos. We have the vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook. That's all you really need. Okay, let's see. This is from Lawrence again, who says, I'm a big man and my left hand isn't as consistent as my right, so it's easier for me to rip. What should I do in my moves?
I'd spend a ton of time working on the mic and drill, first of all, because that works on footwork, and it works on using both the right and the left hand around the basket. And the better you get with those, the better it's going to feel some of the other things that you do as far as moves, too.
Right. Okay, this one is from Craig McHugh again, who says, thanks. I just bought the vertical jump handbook yesterday, and I'm planning on starting it myself tomorrow. I'll suggest it to the players as well. Are there any supplementary exercises / drills you suggest to help more uncoordinated players? I think that we kind of built in good foundations for that in the vertical jump handbook. I don't think that there's too many other things that you want to be mixing in, because they should be doing all of those drills or exercises to the full extent of their abilities and pushing themselves. If you're adding in too many other things, that can really degrade what you're trying to do with the actual program.
Well, it might degrade the program too, but one of the things that's really important in that whole program is you should work hard enough that you are totally gassed at the end of it. And that it should take you about 45 minutes to an hour, hour and 15 minutes max, and you should be really fatigued when you're finished with that.
Right. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to the chat real quick. This one is from Vasco Santos. He says, how many times do I need to train to perform my vertical jump when I have just 14? I don't know what that means fully, but the thing is that there's not a specific number of times. That's one of those things where you need to be working this program and doing it over the course of months to really get the payoff on it. It's just like lifting weights. You don't go and do bench press and then the next day you wake up and you look jacked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, you have to really put in the time. Right. And
Just a sidelight on that too. I come across these vertical jump programs where they give you 10 inches in the first week. Totally impossible. I can't imagine anybody even stepping out on a limb and even thinking that you could do that.
Okay. This one is from Farzan S. Javid, who says, how can I get more confidence while playing basketball?
Well, you get confidence by playing, and one of the things that we think is really important is that you do a lot of repetitions on the thing that are important to you, whether it be shooting or footwork or whatever it happens to be. And then after you've got that down and you're feeling pretty good about it, then it's time for you to take it to the court. And see, and one of the things you'll find is that when you're working on a particular element and you go to the court to play, one of the things you find out, oh, that didn't work. How come? Well, maybe I'm not doing this correctly. Maybe I need to think about doing some other things that will help it be more successful. But you get better just by the 3 pillars that Casey described a while ago. You take instruction and learn how to do something, then you take and work on just speed, game speed execution, and then you take it to the court. And sometimes you're not very successful when you take it to the court because you kind of have to learn how to do things sometimes. So don't let that throw you backwards.
Okay. I think this. Hold on. There's like two more here. This is from Paul Darmus, who says, "How many times do I have to practice to be better?" I
A
mean,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah, there's not a number of times. It's a lot, and it depends on what you're doing. You might pick something up very quickly. I find that when we start working on ball handling skills, usually people pick that up really quickly when they know what they're supposed to be doing. But I can't give you a number, and Casey can't either because it depends on what you're doing. If you're shooting threes, maybe you take and shoot 100, 150 of them a day. I don't know. Maybe you do just as well shooting 50. It's impossible because everybody's different.
yeah. And here's the thing: is that you should never be satisfied, anyways. So you should really put in as much work as you possibly can that still makes you happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
If you're just content with, as soon as I get to 90% of my free throw shooting, then I'm going to cash it in and that's it, I'm good. I don't think that's a great way to go about it. I think as soon as you hit 90% on your free throws, you go, okay, well, now I'm going for 91. Now I'm going for 92. And you have to keep pushing yourself. Otherwise, you end up being one of those guys that can probably develop really well in the beginning, and then people just start to outpace you.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're always kind of pushing yourself and setting a new goal. Set small incremental goals, because that will make it easier for you to motivate yourself. If you're setting some goal like, okay, let's say you have a 50% free throw shooting right now, and you set a 90% as your goal, that's probably going to be really demoralizing for you, because it's going to take you a long time to get there. If you say, okay, I'm at 50 right now, I'm going to go for 55. All right, I'm at 55. Now I'm going to go for 60. And you set these smaller goals, pretty soon you'll find yourself at 90, and that's no problem. So that's kind of the way to approach that stuff. Okay, two more, and then we're out of here. This one is from Viper. He says, I'm in Wales, under 14, and in 2 days I got a match in USA under 18. How can I make it a hard match for them, or how do we win?
In 2 days, either you are able to do that now, or you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it in 2 days if you can't do it now.
Well, here's the thing. I think that you go into it, you don't worry about them being under 18, whatever. Just go in and play. I mean, you can't. Yeah, you can't do anything outside of your abilities.
Yeah.
So you just go out there, play your hardest, do the small things. I think that's really how you win those games. Work as a team, move without the ball, play great defense, use your feet. Just make life tough on those guys.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And good luck. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, that'd be great if you did.
Okay, here's the last one. This is from Sam Chivas, who says, best move to beat a defender on the fast break.
Well, there's so many elements that come into play there that I don't know that we could tell you that this one better than that one, because is the player in front of you? Is he trailing you? Is he off to the right or the left?
I think there's two that I really like.
Okay.
And this is just super general, because like you said, it's impossible to nail down a specific one in this broad situation. But I think using things like the in and out and the hesitation dribble are icers on fast breaks.
Yep.
Because you essentially can do them at speed, and it takes just a split second for you to put on the brakes on the hesitation or whatever. They have to react, then you go right by them. Right. Typically, they don't have the backup there.
Right. Well, one of the other things, if they're coming behind you, when you get to the basket, if you're concerned about whether they're going to block the shot or not, make a jump stop and a power layup, and let them usually go right on by you. Jump stop, a little up fake, and then they're running full speed, and they don't know you're going to stop, and they're running by you, and then you go ahead and make a finish. One of the things that you see an awful lot more of today when you have a player in front of you is that people are getting more into the Euro step and things like that in order to defeat the player on the fast break. But it depends on where they're playing you. If they're playing you to either side, if they're in front of you and set and trying to take you on, or if they're chasing you. So it's really hard to give you a definite on that one.
Yeah, okay. That's going to do it for today, you guys. I want to thank you so much for all the questions. If we did not get to your question, we apologize. It's not because we didn't like you. It's just because we ran out of time. Make sure that you send us your questions during the week. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook, Google+. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And we will be back next week at 1 p.m. Pacific time for another live show and some videos this week. So we will see you guys later. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
All right.